I think we're at a critical point in the industry right now.
The biggest telcos in Europe and some in the US and certainly in Asia.
Churn is one of the biggest things that they're trying to address.
The fundamental issue is, as Paul pointed out, there's a lot of silos of data.
Welcome to the Fast Mode podcast series. I'm Tara Neil, and with me today we have Paul McCluskey, Head of Marketing at Wavelo, Matt Leary, Head of Custom at TelcoTitans, and of course, Patrick Kelly, Founder, Partner, and Principal Analyst at Appledore Research. Welcome, guys.
Great to be on.
Great to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, so Paul, Matt, and Patrick are joining us ahead of MWC Barcelona 2026, taking place from the 2nd to the 5th of March at the Fira Gran Via, where Wavelo, TelcoTitans, and Appledore Research, along with key partners including Dell and ARQIA, are collaborating to present a summit. So I guess, there's a lot of exciting stuff that we can look forward to. So, let's chat a little bit about the event. Okay. So, the first thing I just wanted to ask Paul, I understand that, you are sponsoring a special summit at MWC. That sounds interesting. So can you tell us a bit more about it?
Absolutely. Obviously, anyone who's been to Mobile World Congress knows just how many people show up there. It's something like 100,000 or more attendees, and so it can be difficult to fit into such a huge agenda and find the right kind of discussion or the right place to have a discussion that's really on target for your potential customers and for the folks we want to reach. And we did want to do something that's more about the industry and less about us as Wavelo. And so, I think we're at a critical point in the industry right now in terms of where everyone is at with their AI programs. And so we really wanted to talk about that and understand, what's been working, what hasn't been working, and have the opportunity to discuss some of those challenges. And we felt the best way to do that was to secure a theater for about a half a day, bring in some folks like the guys on the call today that have had a lot of experience, that understand what's going on, and let's use some panel discussions to kind of share with everybody how we see the industry, where it's at, and discuss what can we do to get there faster and make the most out of those AI initiatives.
Mm-hmm. And I guess you have a couple of panels, right, with very interesting topics.
Yes, there are 4 panels. Each panel has a different set of speakers. And the idea is to get a mix of service providers, technology vendors, industry analysts, so that we get different perspectives. And we'll start by looking at the industry itself and where we're at, and then start to look at where some of the challenges are, where some of the successes are, and what some of the best practices might be for service providers as they try and increase their successes with AI going forward.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So, Patrick, I see that Appledore is participating on stage. Perhaps you could provide some more context around why this is a critical point in time for the telecoms market.
Yeah, sure. We at Appledore Research, we focus on helping operators modernize their OSS and BSS systems, and Wavelo plays a role there. So one of the things that I'm going to be talking about is how we move towards both modernization of those systems, but also the use of AI. And so if I kind of step back and I look at most operators' environments today, they have OSS and BSS systems, and the information's exposed through either polling or batch processing. And so AI is useful there as an interpretation tool, but one of the things that Wavelo is doing is they have an event-driven architecture. And the reason I think that's important is it helps move the industry towards what I think a lot of people will be talking about at Mobile World Congress, which is the agentic AI era. And so if you look at event-driven architectures, um, essentially what they do is they tune the network into a continuous observable system. So EDA is a system design where you have software components essentially publishing or reacting to events. So, events could be something like payment processed or device disconnected, or, say a network threshold gets crossed. And instead of one system requesting data from another, which is what we've seen applied in the industry, their API calls. The EDA provides these records in a shared stream so that you can have any interested service, in this case, react to them. And I think what's important in the agentic AI area is that's going to become the cognitive layer for this operating system, both in the BSS and the OSS system. It's going to work on live data sets. And what that means is with an EDA implementation, it moves the industry closer to automating some of these operations instead of just what we have today, which is co-pilot assistance. Um, and so, there's a number of examples I think Paul and some of the other guests will talk about. There's customer experience. So instead of waiting for complaints, when performance degrades, these events can trigger an agent to immediately adjust to that, either by steering traffic or potentially optimizing the service. You have things like bill shock as another example. We see that quite often with a lot of operators that we're dealing with today. And so if you have information on usage, location, and SIM behavior, these are a combination of events that you can combine in real time. And in an agentic deployment, the agent would help prevent bill shock or even fraud. Um, and that obviously improves the overall customer experience. So just a couple examples there that we'll be talking about in the session in Barcelona.
Wow. I guess that the topic of EDA, and then you're bringing in agentic AI as well. So I guess it's really a very hot topic, an interesting one. And I guess people who are joining the sessions, the panel sessions, would definitely find a lot of new insights that they can take home. So yeah, great insights. So my next question is for Matt and as well as Paul. So are your organizations seeing similar evidence of this need for new data strategies, the one Patrick just mentioned, in order to get the most of AI?
Yeah, and it is a great question. TelcoTitans is a media and analyst platform for telco executives, and we focus a lot of our coverage on the so what, the kind of business applications, if you will, about technologies like AI and the role of data and AI. And we've seen a shift over the last 18 months, and Patrick picked up on some of this, pivoting to the more realities of AI for CSPs. And a couple of points that I'll bring up that I think we're going to spend a lot of time on in the session. One is data is finally being seen as a strategic asset at tier one, tier two telcos, challengers alike, moving away from some of that kind of simpler batching, kind of historic use, sampling, even just abstraction of some of the data to being more core to the business. In fact, the biggest telcos in Europe and some in the US and certainly in Asia have all made kind of substantive statements that they know they need to be better about their data, that to be more aggressive about how they leverage that. And one telco told us they got 1 billion data points a day out of their kind of network, from phones to connectivity to transport, and they want to make that more strategic to how they run their business. The second big observation we have that ties right into what we're talking about at MWC is the age of POCs and tests and trials with with AI is done. I think we're past maybe that AI washing phase, and now we're getting much sharper focus. And part of this is there's been a huge turnover in the C-suites of many of the top telcos in the world, and part of that is you see the elevation of AI into that kind of board level or C-level conversation. We see new chief AI officers and stuff like that, and that kind of goes to how efficiencies from AI and some of the things that Patrick was talking about that Wavelo enables have become far more important to the kind of business mindset of the telcos. And the last piece is it just can't be about efficiencies. And this is something Paul knows well. It has to be about business outcomes from a revenue perspective. And telcos are getting really smart about how they use their data and enable AI. Some of them are investing in AI products, AI data centers, to and enable their AI partners, and that could be MVNOs or IoT or some of the other players that are in their ecosystem. And we're gonna hear a few examples of that, I think, in the sessions at MWC. Paul, you have probably some more feedback from the Wavelo side.
Yeah, it's really, really good context, Matt. I would say, if you look at like the OSS, BSS systems that have been around for a while now, the data that they hold is very relevant and is very useful. There's a lot of potential that can be unlocked from that if you can use it in a way that you can feed agentic platforms and other AI applications to be able to make decisions and automate process steps. Um, but we have an economy that's based on a sort of point-to-point APIs and batching of data, and that's not how AI consumes data. And so I think part of the discussion is going to be around, well, how do you take all of that, all of those systems, and without throwing them all away, um, use them differently? So how can you plug those into a real-time framework and start to feed the applications that really need access to that data much more on a on-demand basis, and with context, so that if you take an example like if you're about to cancel your phone service, the ability to take a look at how you've been using it and then maybe look at an alternative offer to be presented to you in real time based on how you've been using your phone, and say, hey, don't leave, I can save you some money and put you on a better plan that actually better suits you. That's an awful lot of data to collect, instantaneously, to make that kind of a decision. It's certainly there. It's the ability to be able to grab it, and then process it quickly. And so those will be some of the examples we'll talk to, and we'll talk about some of the architectures that um, would support that kind of a use case. And so that's why I think we've mixed up a number of different people in the panel sessions, so we can talk about not just the theory, but also some of the examples that we're seeing out there in the market today already.
Yeah, I guess, the example that you just cited there would definitely get telcos excited, because churn is one of the biggest things that they're trying to address. And, having a real-time remedy for churn, without involving so many humans trying to think through the problem and, coming up with a solution or coming up with a counter offer and stuff like that. If a machine can do that, then I guess, that's what we are. We'll really be grateful to have a system like that. So I guess telcos should really pay attention to, to what you're going to say at the show. And I guess, yeah, brilliant. So back to Patrick. Appledore is providing a white paper to all attendees at the summit, called Fast Tracking Telco Modernization. So we have a couple of our editors who have signed up, who's going to get a copy of the white paper as well. So, but before that, can you give an overview of the white paper and why is it relevant for the summit?
Yeah, we published a white paper in December, jointly with Wavelo. And one of the things that we're looking at, is specifically in the telco vertical, is the use of EDA to accelerate modernization and prepare for this AI-driven era. Some of the points that I mentioned earlier, and Matt actually keyed off of some, where when we talk to a lot of operators, particularly ones in Europe, they're using a data-first strategy. Um, And the fundamental issue is, as Paul pointed out, there's a lot of silos of data and systems, and that's really where the focus is in the market. And so, with this paper, one of the things we look at is accelerating AI initiatives by unlocking that legacy data. So, the fact that EDA exposes some of the continuous real-time data streams into the operational environment that most operators are still supporting their customers and running networks. The second thing is the real-time network optimization to help with service orchestration. So with an event-driven system, you have faster time to react to network conditions or customer impacts, things like traffic rerouting. All of that is things that operators are looking at to leverage as the network itself becomes more software based. And the third area that I just would mention that's keyed on in that particular paper is incremental legacy migration without operational disruption. I think that's a key takeaway. And I think that's where Wavelo is helping some of their customers introduce this event interface, bridging, if you will, between the old and new systems. So that's little teaser on that piece, and I think it should be a great event in Barcelona.
So everyone's who's attending the the sessions would be would have access to the white paper, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So yeah, interesting. So Matt, what is TelcoTitans' role at the summit, and how do you think these panel sessions will benefit the summit attendees?
Yeah, my job is the ringleader or maybe the drill sergeant as the facilitator of the sessions. And I think there's a couple of areas that we're really going to get into. And Patrick's obviously the work he's done on the white paper and his team is very important for this. In fact, he and several of his team members will be in the early panels where we're kind of reinforcing some of those strategies to break down some of those barriers that we talked about and provide actionable ideas on how to leverage data in systems like OSS and BSS to get to some of those kind of business outcomes that our readers have talked about and the executives that we interview. And then we're going to pivot to real case studies. I think one of the key things that we wanted to get to, and we have a kind of unique MVNO IoT provider who's joining us that will talk about some of the cases they have and getting more data out of their partners network and out of their partners systems. And then with the help of Dell, we're going to close and Wavelo. We're going to talk a little bit and look into the future. Where can we do better in with some of these technologies and to really enable what we like to call the data-driven AI native telco. And I think we're kind of at the crest of some of those advancements. Again, Patrick's covered some of that in the white paper, and we'll talk about it in the panels. Maybe we'll try and look a little bit further ahead to see where can we go next to give the telcos and the audience some ideas to what's the foundation they could build now for those future strategies. That's my goal.
Okay, excellent. So yep, I guess this sounds really interesting, and I guess we have one last question, and that's for Paul. Where and when is the summit taking place? I know those who are tuned in to this podcast will want to know that, and how can people register?
Yep. So it's happening in Hall 8. So there's a number of things happening in Hall 8. One is the 4 years from now. Those sessions will be happening in Hall 8 also. So there is a theatre, number 5, I think it is. And we'll have that theatre from 3 until 7 p.m. on day 3. That's March 4th. That's the Wednesday. So Wednesday afternoon from 3 o'clock. Get there early because there's only so many seats in the theatre. And so we may end up having to turn some people away. So we are going to provide some lunch so that people can get there early, grab a sandwich, grab a seat. And then we'll wrap up with a networking happy hour. So I'm sure people are going to want to talk about some of the things they've heard, perhaps over a drink, a cocktail afterwards. So it's all happening in Hall 8. And we do have a registration link, which I'm sure we can share after this podcast.
Yep, yep. I guess no one's gonna miss the sessions, all the panels, and I guess with a fantastic lineup and all the networking stuff that's gonna happen afterwards. I think it's gonna be a great event, and yep. Good luck to the team.
Thanks, Tara. Much appreciated.
Thanks. We're looking forward to it.
Okay. We'll see everybody in Barcelona.
All right. Okay, guys. So that brings us to the end of the session. So thank you, Paul, Matt, and Patrick for joining us today and telling us about what we can expect at the Data-Driven Telco Summit at MWC 2026. And to everyone tuning in, thank you guys for listening. If you want to learn more, visit www.mwcbarcelona.com and follow us for more updates and insights as we continue to uncover the latest in technology and telecoms. See you in our next session. Bye-bye.